Welcome to Try This at Home. I'm Cliff Bumgardner.
And I'm Harrison Stewart.
Our myths this week are ancient death ray, skunk cleaning, and what is bulletproof.
Yeah.
This episode originally aired on September 29th, 2004, directed as always by Peter Rees, but an exciting new name. This episode was written by Anthony Griffis.
Ooh.
Now, that is a name that may not be immediately recognizable to Mythbusters fans, and I actually, sadly, don't even think it makes it in the credits for this episode. But Anthony is a writer who worked on Mythbusters a lot, wrote a lot of your favorite episodes, including this one. And the reason we know that is because we've been emailing with Anthony, and he's going to be joining us here on the show later this week.
Yay.
Come on back later this week. On Friday, we're going to air a special bonus episode with Anthony talking about this episode, but also his entire tenure on Mythbusters, how he got into the show, what it was like writing on the show, etc. If you listened to our episode last year with Andrew Farrell, you know how much we love the kind of unsung heroes of Mythbusters. So I'm really excited to talk to Anthony and have him on the show.
And similar to the episode with Monsieur Farrell, you can tell. You can definitely tell that this one was fantastic.
Yeah, it's always interesting when you get the different voices in the room, how different the show feels, but in a really good way, while still feeling like Mythbusters feels really good. So that takes us into our overall thoughts. What'd you think of this one? Sounds positive.
Super positive. I absolutely loved it. I hate how often we say this feels like classic Mythbusters, but like we're
this
like
one
getting,
really does.
Yeah, we're getting like closer and closer, to the point of like full realization of things that we remember.
Yeah, this episode had, I think one of the reasons it feels classic is because they just aired this one a lot. And so I've seen this episode a lot and I remember it really well. But it's also classic because it sort of has, if you were to break down the like quintessential ingredients for a perfect Mythbusters soup, I feel like this episode has a little bit of each, right? There's something like, it's very sciencey, but it's also very big and kind of flashy. You get a lot of building. You get a lot of like big, oversized tests. But then you get some smaller tests that are a little bit more practical. And it's just very silly all the way through. So like you kind of get each of those things that we've picked out throughout these last episodes since we've been doing this of what makes a great Mythbusters. I feel like they're all here.
Yeah. And you get the we couldn't get the result we wanted, therefore we're just gonna blow it up or torch it.
Just wreck stuff.
Yes, just wreck stuff. I didn't almost curse.
A little bit of self-censoring there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
PG.
No, I thought this was a great episode overall, and it's going to be a really fun one to dig into, not just with us, but actually to talk to Anthony and hear his memories of how this came to be, because it's ancient death ray is a big myth that I know comes back a couple of times throughout the show. It's like a JATO rocket car or a chicken gun. Like this is one of those things that became a part of Mythbusters history. So yeah, excited to dig into this one. Myth 1, Ancient Death Ray. So this is a cool story. I think they actually say it's the oldest story they've tackled on Mythbusters, all the way from the 3rd century BC, which does not mean before Cliff, as it usually does in my household.
Does it not?
No, you would think, right?
Wow.
That wouldn't be that long ago. I'm not that old.
I learned something.
But this myth goes back to the ancient scientist Archimedes, who was said to use the sun's energy and mirrors to set fire to enemy ships.
That's pretty impressive for an owl. I wouldn't expect an owl to be able to do that. But then again, never trust an owl.
Never trust an owl. They will eat your Tootsie Pop before they get to the center. They will set your ship on fire. You cannot trust owls.
They're well known for disrupting experiments in that way.
You know what's really weird? You and I were talking recently about how us on this show and us off of this show are just the same people. There is no line. This morning, I swear we didn't plan this. This morning, my wife and I were talking about the owl from the Tootsie Pop ads. Just comes up in our lives, apparently.
Yeah, you knew that. Mr. Owl. Which honestly, Professor Owl, thank you very much. He's got the
Use
hat.
the honorific.
Yeah, he's got the little square hat, whatever that's called, you know? He's at least a professor. Come on.
Well, this owl, Archimedes, was said to use bronze shields that would actually focus the sun's energy onto a warship and potentially set it on fire. And I love this myth from again, it's perfect from Mythbusters' standpoint. Like, it's just, there's some science to it. You can immediately see in your head where this is going to go, that there's going to be a bunch of mirrors and we're going to be setting something on fire. Like, it's all there in this myth. What did you think about this as like a testable thing?
I really thought this one was going to work, you know? I mean, we've reviewed many times, not a science guy, not a science man. But I don't know, like there's enough there for me to be like, yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah.
I've seen how a magnifying glass works. Just make a giant one. Could happen.
I think that is definitely the image that everybody gets in their head with this one, right? Is like that's the touch point that makes it feel like it could actually happen. I thought it was interesting. They brought in Dr. Heather Joseph Witham, friend of the show. I'm bracing for the point that she's not going to show up anymore. I know it's coming. We're not there yet, but every time she pops up, I get excited because we're still in that era of the show. But she made a really interesting point that the death ray wasn't actually written about until like 800 years after Archimedes' death.
Whoops.
Which like immediately throws into question how this could happen. But I thought that was like a nice bit of lore brought into it, or again that great use of Heather Joseph Witham on the show to bring in that other side of it and kind of throw doubt in even from an early part of the story.
Yeah, I do really like that she looks like she walked right out of the Matrix as well.
Right.
Like when they introduce her, she's just walking down the street, sunglasses, black trench coat. Like she even whips around.
You
Looks
remember
like
how
bullet time.
obsessed we all were with the Matrix in that era? Because this is like 2004, so this is peak Matrix.
Did you say were?
Fair.
I don't follow. Were.
That's fair.
Brother,
That's fair.
I never stopped. But also, that may have been intentional to some degree. I keep forgetting that, like, that's one of Adam's. It is Adam that worked on Reloaded and Revolutions, right?
And Tori, I believe.
That's
I
awesome.
think they worked on. I think a lot of the ILM people worked on the sequels.
Yeah.
Which also The Matrix, an Australian production, just like Mythbusters. So
I forget about that.
Yeah, a lot of kind of shared territory in the myth busting world of this era.
Say what you will about the story in those later movies, the effects never get worse. The effects stay top notch throughout.
I thought you were going to say what you will about those Australians, but they make some great they make some great stuff.
Say what you will about Down Under, about that prison colony, but I swear they.
Speaking of making some great stuff, see, I'm a professional podcaster. I get a little transition there.
That makes one of us.
It is up to the build team in this episode to actually build half of a boat that they can point their mirror array at. And this was like we talked about in the last couple of episodes, how bringing the build team onto the show was exciting and like created an opportunity for more building to be featured part of the show. This like achieves that goal to me. Mm-hmm. Like this is like fully achieves what the build team is there for when you get to watch them make half a boat using ancient techniques. This was super cool. And also anytime, much like with the tree cannon last season, anytime they make something using ancient techniques, it just seems miserable.
That's what I was going to say. It felt, I don't want to say mean, but like it's one thing if you are like, I'm going to commit to using the ancient methods to accomplish this, but like dictating it to someone else, like, all right, I need y'all to build a triene, and well, you're only going to be able to use ancient stuff to do it.
Yeah. I mean, it is like seeing the build team have to kind of learn on the fly what Adam and Jamie have now been doing for like a year is it is like a little reality show within the show, right?
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun to watch. We get a nice little shopping montage as always, as Carrie says she has to go get wood.
Mm-hmm.
She says it, just leaving it there.
Yep.
And I did love she asked the guy at the wood place, where do you keep your wood from 200 BC? And he completely rolls with it.
Yep. Yep.
He doesn't bat an eye, just completely goes with it. Yep, come follow me. Ha ha ha.
As if that, which I mean, I fully believe that they like fed him the line, you know, like, well, let me show you where we keep the triene wood. But
I don't know, man, what we've seen of like these San Francisco locations. I just feel like we got real weird people who are happy to go along with this stuff.
He did address it as if it wasn't the first time that he's like, I can't imagine he gets it often, but like he didn't react as if that was the only time he has received such a question.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it is like that. San Francisco, going back to what we were saying before, is where industrial light and magic is at. So, you know, maybe folks around there are kind of inundated with these sorts of odd requests. I don't know.
It's like, the Troy guys are back.
You guys building another horse? What's going on? They end up getting spruce, which they say is the closest thing they could get. And I thought it was pretty cool. Throughout this episode, they put a lot of focus in, as we said, trying to do things as close to ancient materials as they possibly could, including the panels, the reflective panels that they're going to use. They say that originally it would have been bronze for bronze shields, but that is so expensive that they did some tests and actually figured out that they could use household mirrors would be even more effective. And also, this blew my mind, they had household mirror technology in the 3rd century BC.
That is nutty.
Isn't it?
Yeah. They also brought up Mylar, which I found interesting because the only time that I've ever heard of Mylar is like that's what the super thick comic book bags and boards are made out of.
Or like balloons was my thought. Like Macy's parade balloons was like, are we going to have a giant Pikachu killing people but with the sun's rays?
Let's hope so. Can you imagine? it's just like the mirrors are just its cheeks. Pika, Pika.
Have you ever seen the video of the Barney balloon at the Macy's parade that popped?
Have I seen the video of the Barney balloon? I watch it like once a year, probably.
Yeah, it's like a tradition. It's a Thanksgiving tradition more than watching the parade.
Absolutely. In my household, it is.
Exactly. Same. Yeah. Watch if listeners haven't seen that, look it up on YouTube. It's horrible, and thankfully nobody got hurt. Everything was fine. I mean, Barney doesn't survive, but we've killed lots of dinosaurs, so
That's
who
right.
cares?
Yeah.
But we'll
get oil out of it. It's fine.
Yeah, it's a hilarious visual to watch something that big just pop.
I'm glad someone was recording that moment.
It's a very Mythbusters-y kind of thing. Like it really feels like if that was on an episode of Mythbusters, it would not surprise me.
Oh, I would love to see them make like a Macy's Day Jamie. And it would have to be Jamie, you know?
Or a buster, a big buster floating down the street.
A big bust. See, I was imagining that they could just repurpose the Charlie Brown. They just give Charlie Brown a mustache, a beret, and some glasses. It's Jamie. Like, it's perfect.
Oh, that's too perfect. Yeah, they don't even need to make a new balloon. Oh, man, I would watch
Reduce, reuse, baby.
It's during these tests for the different types of materials they could use to reflect the sun's rays that the first, like, the real problem, I think, with this myth comes up in terms of it actually being true, which is that getting enough people to coordinate and reflect the sun using a shield or something in their hands, they can't even get like 8 people to do it.
Nope.
They have a team. They have a professional team of production people, builders, all this in the parking lot at M5, and they can't even do it.
That was wild. I mean, I haven't done it. I can't say for sure how difficult it is, but I was a little surprised.
I don't feel like it was made any easier by Adam just berating everybody the whole time they're trying to do it.
No, or just like gleefully skipping through all of the light and like trying to catch it on the wall like a cat with a laser pointer.
It did make me realize that Adam has real cat energy.
Big time. Big
Like
time.
he has like silly happy dog energy too, but when you really watch him like at his peak, it is some serious cat energy.
It's the mischievous undertones that push it into cat territory.
And Jamie is more like Jamie is wise old owl, to bring
Yes.
Archimedes back into it. That's
Yes.
Jamie is silently judging you, and his head can spin all the way around. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, I mean, we've seen it. You know, it's on the swivel all time.
It's on that Exorcist episode that they did, that that rare Halloween special.
because like, how are we going to accomplish this? It's like, what you mean this?
One of the things that does lend to this myth being possible is that these ancient materials that were used to build the boat, like they basically make the point that it is just a floating flammable device.
Yeah.
They're going to cover it with hemp and seal it with tar and wax. And every single part of it is painstaking. It looks horrendous. It looks like an awful time. But it is also, they are just making a floating torch, basically. So that did make me think early on, like maybe this could actually be true. It doesn't seem like it should be that hard to light this thing on fire.
Yeah, I mean, Viking funerals are a thing. Like I assume
Exactly.
that, you know. I also love the sea shanty.
So ahead of its time. That was my first thought. The safety officer, who we haven't seen on the show before, would have loved to have met him. I don't know, maybe when they had Jamie in a coffin.
Yeah.
Where were a good time.
Mr. Rockwell, I think his name
He was Jim Rockwell. He was just hanging out singing sea shanties.
Like really well too.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, it killed.
To the point that when they first cut to him, I thought they had brought someone in to do that.
Yes, this is our resident she shanty man.
He sells
He sells she shanties by the shore shampoo. Nailed it. Professional, remember.
Someone who did not share our confidence in the boat being able to be lit on fire was actually Tori. Which led to a great exchange and a great revelation that I thought we had to touch on. Let's just listen to the moment.
You better rent a flamethrower because I don't think those mirrors are going to work.
Jamie's got a flamethrower in his office.
It's not surprising.
Office. No.
It's not surprising in the slightest, but I also like, this is 2004. Now there are those stupid, like Elon Musk flamethrowers that you can actually buy. The future did not deliver flying cars. It did deliver flamethrowers. We're living in the weirdest reality.
Yes.
But this is 2004.
Accessible. Yep.
If you had a flamethrower, you had to make it yourself.
I love in his office. You know, like not on the main floor. He's not just going to make it available to everyone, but you know, Casey's got to kind of get a little stern with someone.
And don't you picture it's like just leaned up in the corner too? It's not like it's 100%. Featured. It's just like it's there next to, he hangs his coat on it.
I like to imagine that it's on a wax sculpture of himself. It's just always on there, And he just kind of looks at it and is like,
that's like an art piece. Yeah, that's like an art piece, like a wax sculpture with the flamethrower, the thing that could destroy it. You put them together.
Yeah, you got to think about it a little bit, like it's kind of a heady piece.
There does need to be a Mythbusters wing of Madame Tussauds.
Absolutely, they could fill an entire museum. Is there a Mythbusters museum?
There was a touring exhibit that went to museums around the country called the Explosive Exhibition. I never got to go, but yeah, it's done now. But there was for quite a few years, it toured all over the country and had different props. And I know. Oh well, I think a lot of the stuff that was in it has since been auctioned off, and a lot of it, I think the funds went to the Grand Imahara Foundation, which is pretty cool.
Good.
So yeah, they made really good use of it. But I would love to see a MythBusters exhibit again.
Yeah.
One of the things that would be awesome in that exhibit is this scale model that Adam made. So this is something that I remember so much from Mythbusters is like scale testing. Am I wrong? Is this the first time we've really seen a scale test like this that is like fully art decked? Like it's like fully designed and like made clearly for the show as a visual tool for what we're going. I don't think we've seen that before, right?
No, not to this degree. It's just such a magnificent touch that all of the people holding the mini mirrors are Jamie. It's just
Yes.
replicas of Jamie. Which
Just
I mean,
mini
that's
Jamies.
that's where we're moving towards, like an army of Jamies. Like that's the end goal of this whole thing. I assume.
Well, he already made a version of that with the little stomping robots.
Oh, you're so right.
So his clone army is on the way.
We're getting one step closer with each passing episode.
While we're talking about, we talked about a few weeks ago props that we'd love to have from the show, a mini Jamie like that. I want
Yes.
that on my shelf. I want a little mini Jamie. That would be so cool.
Just like glue him to the top of your headphones.
Yes.
So he's always there.
I have a Buster on my microphone now, and I could have a Jamie on my headphones. That would be great.
Buster.
Yes. For folks watching, if you go to YouTube, we're going to be putting up video clips from our episodes in the near future, and maybe you can see my mini Buster. A little tease. They settle on the idea here because of what we mentioned with the mirrors being a problem of people holding them. They settle on this idea of making a Fresnel arrangement. Mm-hmm. And this was my only kind of like in this myth was Adam actually says that this arrangement wasn't discovered until many years after Archimedes' time, but quote, would have been obvious to him. Do you know Archimedes, Adam? What?
I don't know. I'll grant it. It's he was a maths guy. That's.
I mean, the arrangement that they make. This is one of the satisfying things about this episode to me. Is just the scale of the stuff that they build in this episode is insane.
It's so big. I do also love that we get a bit of the behind the scenes against the clock. In this one,
which we've seen more and more of recently.
Yeah. Tori is like, oh man, I don't know that we're going to be able to get this done by tomorrow. And Adam's like, no, that's to mount it. We got to get all of this done in the next 4 hours.
Ain't crazy. This arrangement they said was 400 square feet.
Oh, was it
just
so much bigger than you were imagining?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, 400 square feet, like wooden structure to hold all the mirrors. And then to make the arrangement, each mirror has to be angled at the right angle to create, like, this is just an engineering feat. We've seen them do a lot of impressive things on this show and a lot of things that they've built. This may be the most impressive so far to me. Like,
I think so.
The level of detail they had to go into to figure this out is incredible.
Yeah, because, I mean, again, it's massive. Like, it looks like here's my requisite Bond reference for in Diamonds Are Forever, Blofeld makes like a satellite dish with diamonds that is a laser somehow. That's what it reminded me of. Like, this thing is huge.
Yeah,
it's huge.
It is serious Dr. Evil looking technology. This
yes.
thing. And when they get out to the water to actually do this test, and just the whole they've got the mirrors rigged up, and then they've got the boat. The whole setup is just insanely impressive to me.
Yeah.
Like it's that we're getting to that scale on the show. I remembered watching this episode that when we interviewed Dr. Heather Joseph Witham, she talked about the difference between when she came back to do these episodes, how much bigger the show had gotten.
Yeah.
And I really feel like we're seeing that now. Like it's just this is full scale myth busting craziness now on the show.
Right, because like we were talking about earlier, like the giant satellite thing is only half. Like the dish is only half of the project. They had to build like the half a boat as well.
Yeah, which they apparently didn't think about the fact that building only half a boat, it wouldn't float level.
Well,
I mean, I couldn't do it, so I'm not one to judge. But I do feel like you might have thought that half a boat wouldn't float, right?
It might come up,
It might come up at some point, while you're covering it in tar.
Yeah.
You might think,
and
I wonder if this is going to float.
Adam's like, what do we have, like a crew full of idiots? Like, I mean... Dog, you're on that crew. Like you at any point.
To his credit, he did say including him. But
yes.
Yeah, that was that felt very like drill instructor Adam in this episode, between trying to get people to gather the mirrors correctly and then berating the half boat. Yeah. We also got, as they're setting this up and trying to get the boat ready, we got a rare moment of beauty, which is Jamie Heineman pulling a prank.
It was so pure.
It was. And like, so for the listeners' benefit, there's a moment where Christine, the myth turn, is trying to help them arrange the boat and get it all tied correctly and get it to float. And Jamie makes her get down in the water and reach underneath the boat to grab the end of a rope. Meanwhile, he is holding the rope in his hand, nowhere near her the entire time. And when she realizes it and looks at Jamie, we get the most pure moment of Jamie just giggling, holding a rope.
Yep.
And I was like, this is the most human we've ever seen the Heinemann.
It's true. It's so true. She's not thrilled.
No. Well, think about what she's done since she got on the job. She had to paint Adam. We later see her during the skunk myth. She's getting pranked by Jamie Heinemann of all people.
Yep.
I mean, this is a weird job.
And listener, just hold in your mind for a second all of that, because in the skunk myth, we're going to get a little bit of backstory about how she got the job. So just kind of hold that in your mind, if you would.
When they finally get into the testing here, the first reading that they get is actually less than 200 degrees. And with some refocusing of the mirrors, they only really get up to 200, which starts melting the wax that's on the boat, but is nowhere close enough to the ignition point. And I was surprised at how little it worked, honestly. Like, I remembered in my mind that it doesn't just spontaneously light the boat on fire. I didn't think that was going to happen. But to sit there in the beam as long as it did and only get up to 200 degrees, that was surprising to me.
That's kind of wild. Again, I'm thinking about like a giant magnifying glass, and I really expected more laser action.
Yeah.
More big frickin' lasers.
And it does point out, and they say this in the show, that the big problem with this myth, even if it did work, like even if they were able to set the boat on fire, it would require the boat to stay so still that it would be completely impractical as any kind of actual weapon, which made me think, and I know that this myth gets retested. I actually think this is the myth they ultimately test with Barack Obama.
What?
Not a joke. They actually go to the White House and Barack Obama tells them to get this right. That is a thing that happens eventually on Mythbusters.
Look, I'm just going to say it. This may be controversial. You shouldn't be able to bring a death laser to the White House. That's not something you should be able to bring to the White House. I do love the idea of Obama calling them in like, boys, we're really counting on this technology. Gotta get it right. This is how we win.
Catching a lot of flack for this drone program, so I could really use
I could really use a giant space laser right about now. A real life Star Wars.
Don't you also feel bad for the people like in Obama's communications department? They're just like, so what are we doing today? Oh, the Mythbusters here. That's cool. That show's really popular. The kids will like that. We'll get some young people. What are they talking to the president about? Making an ancient death laser. Okay, not exactly what we wanted people talking about today.
Does death have to be in the title? It does. It does, actually. Sorry.
It does. They've done this before, and they said death a lot, so that's that we can't get around it.
It's trademarked.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing that when we get to that point in the show, because I know, like I said, I know that this myth looms large, and I'm not sure if it's then or if this is just something that I'm at the point with Mythbusters that I don't know what's an original thought and what is something that's going to come up, because we did the Myths Revisited episode, and I'd realized how wrong I had been about so much. But I feel like they talk about at some point that it is very likely that something like this existed as a distraction technique, more so than an actual weapon. But if you're a ship coming in and you're just getting sunlight, reflected back at you from the shore, that can be really distracting and hard to see, and you're getting in your eyes, and it's sort of a different type of weapon than a actually like laser accurate, we're going to set your boat on fire kind of thing.
I do love the idea of just hey, Romans, hey, could y'all like sit right there right there. Just stay right there. Thank you.
You look great. We're gonna have somebody draw your picture for the history books. Just hang out right there. You look great. We're bringing in Leonardo.
It's about time. It's about time someone took our portrait. Is this good? Is this you like this?
Why is it hot? Are portraits hot? What's going on?
normal? Totally
I don't know because
normal.
this is the 2nd century. I don't know. This is where we got the great moment when it doesn't work. As you mentioned, this is the true Mythbusters kind of moment of, well, screw it. Let's just set this thing on fire.
Yes.
And how they decided to do this was, and they planned ahead for this, by the way, was to bring flaming arrows and Molotov cocktails.
You gave it away. That was that was definitely the hardest I laughed in this episode. It was like the flaming arrows don't work. And then Mr. Lee comes in and is like, how about a Molotov cocktail? I was like, how about it? Why not?
How about it?
Why not? Let's try
I'd
it.
watch that.
Yeah.
And then, isn't it Adam who just chucks the Molotov right over the boat and into the water?
I mean, like that air ball, doesn't even bounce off. Nothing. The first one just clear miss.
Even with actual fire, they can't set the boat on fire for any length of time.
Nope.
Like they can't. It lights, and then as soon as the fuel or whatever goes out, it just goes out.
Yep.
So to destroy it, they have to get a crane, lift it out of the water, and drop it.
And then even that does not bust it up completely. They have to like lower a forklift onto it to like fully smash it.
Which was just like kids playing with their toys kind of energy.
Yup.
Just like, screw it. Bam, 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 bam.
Good work, build team.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
That is a damn good ship. Well
Yeah.
done. Well done, build team. But yeah, ultimately on this one, it's impractical for so many different reasons that the final verdict on this is busted.
Yeah.
But as we know, that's busted for now because this will come back down the road.
Well,
So,
and they don't, which is why it's very funny that they don't just destroy the ship. They also, for unclear reasons, they just tip over the giant mirror mechanism.
so many years of bad luck inflicted on this show from that one action.
Yeah. It's not like it was insanely difficult to build. It's not like they were
No.
up against. Can you imagine spending just hours and hours on something? It's like, all right, let's break it. What? What's up?
And now you have to clean that up, by the way.
That was my first thought as well. That I felt similarly about like the glass from 2 episodes ago where it was just like, aw, poor person that has to do that.
Anyway,
Tori, get in there.
Yeah, well, I was going to say to your earlier point about making the build team do stuff, I feel like we've seen more of that now that Adam and Jamie aren't the ones cleaning it up.
It's busted. I mean, from a purely practical standpoint, this myth is 100% busted. If you have enough mirrors that make an effective death ray, the rig that they're mounted to is going to be so big, we saw, that you can't move it or aim it effectively.
Yeah, Archimedes was a really smart guy, and like a lot of us, he knew that sometimes the simplest solutions are the best ones.
Myth 2, skunk cleaning. Not cleaning a skunk.
No.
But how do you remove skunk smell? There are a lot of kind of famous home remedies and different things that we have all heard, and they are going to put them all to the test in this episode. So,
which of these had you heard?
I had heard of the tomato juice.
Same. From
I feel like
I believe it was Zaboomafoo, or the Kratt brothers, I believe, taught me about the tomato juice.
There is something deep in my memory bank that is calling out, but I can't get there.
That one's in the vault.
Have you ever been sprayed by a skunk?
Nope.
Have you ever been
haven't.
close to a skunk that sprayed or anything like that?
I mean, like maybe on the highway, like in passing, I've definitely caught a whiff. They're quite abundant around North Carolina, but
yeah, I've never been sprayed. There was one time that I was, as you said, in the car, and I don't know if I think maybe what had happened is a skunk had been hit by a car.
Oh,
and I either rolled over it or something because the smell stayed with my car.
Oh.
And I will say the difference between just like smelling it in passing, or you walk past something on a hiking trail or something where there was a skunk and you get it and you're like, oh, that's bad. The difference between that and it staying with you for like an hour is horrendous. So I really felt for them in this episode because I have experienced that over time, and it is chemical warfare. It is genuinely terrible.
It's not good in passing, so I can't imagine being saturated by it is something that I would be into. But the boys seem into it.
They are so into trying. Well, they're into trying to get sprayed, but they're also really scared of trying to get sprayed. Yes. Adam is terrified throughout this episode. I mean, he's even asking, we get a skunk guy, which is awesome, of a guy named Jeff Anderson of Critter Control. I had to write that down because I thought it was too good.
Well, I thought for sure that was just like, Ryan Lee being playful, but no, we eventually see like it written on the box, Critter Control.
Critter Control.
Oh, that's the name of the business. Okay.
Yeah.
All
yeah.
right.
And so when they bring in the actual skunks, Adam starts asking about like, does it hurt? He is so afraid of getting sprayed. And I don't blame him. Again, I know that it's absolutely awful, so I don't blame him. But it was very funny to see he was more concerned about this than he was about peeing on the third rail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Of all the dangerous things we've seen them do, that is the getting sprayed by a skunk is the one thing where Adam is like being a little cautious about it.
I do, and he only thinks to ask it after the skunk is on site.
Yes,
it's
yes.
like they're within seconds of getting sprayed, and he's like, "Wait a second, will this cause pain as well?"
And a nice touch was that they, of course, because anytime they're going to test a myth that involves the outdoors, the only thing to do is dress like hillbillies.
100%. They've never looked more natural either.
No. And there's something about like, quote unquote, hillbilly or outdoorsy clothes when they're brand new.
Yeah.
Did that register to you? It was something very weird about like, oh, this is very creased. Flannels and vests. Like it just could not look more like a bad CW show.
Produced, yeah.
Yeah. Then we had imagine for a moment that you are a skunk.
Okay.
And that you were in a tiny little cage.
Yep.
And you don't know what's going on. And the cage is opened, and there are two men standing over you who are the two strangest men you've ever seen in your life. And they are dressed like hillbillies who just left the mall. Mm-hmm. And then
mall billies.
They begin barking at you.
Yes. Do you have that clip?
Let's just do it.
Come on, left eye, bud.
Jimmy, I think you should start singing.
Oh, I love that. That really is like, that sounds like just the natural Jamie noise,
Yes.
Like make a noise that encompasses all that Jamie is as a person.
It's the Jamie id.
It's the Jamie id.
The Jamie id is
like I can't. I would love to duplicate the noise, but I can't because I feel like I have to shake my head violently and my headphones will go flying and likely ruin everything. But like it's very jowl oriented. You know what I mean? Like,
yes. And his id is on such display. Not just in the noise, but right after that, because it doesn't work. And they throughout this whole myth, they just keep coming back to the fact that it is actually really hard to get these skunks to spray.
Apparently.
But it was here that Jamie goes, well, what are we going to do? I mean, we can't hurt or even seriously harass it. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't say it like, oh, well, we can't hurt it. So, no, he says it like, wusses.
Yeah.
He says it like, what are we supposed to do? We can't hurt the thing, so I don't know what you want from me.
You've already taken all. One hand is tied behind my back. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
They end up turning to synthetic skunk, which I just like to imagine they had around anyway for,
It's in the vault.
It's in the vault, myth-busting purposes.
Yeah.
Who knows?
They knew they would need it eventually. They just didn't know the exact myth.
And when they take it out immediately, this is where, to our point earlier, you see Christine in the background just instantly gagging before this stuff is even out. Like,
Yes.
oh, what a like, I was brought right back, and they even show in a montage, I was brought right back to pig stew.
Mm-hmm. Right back to
those gross ass myth busting days.
I also love that this is the point at which they reveal how she landed the job, and they say that she won it in a competition. Now, first of all, interesting use of the word "won" here.
Yes.
Such a privilege to have to paint Adam. I
like to imagine that was the competition. That they just got a bunch of people together, and it was like an American Gladiator style obstacle course where you paint Adam, and then you have to sniff Skunk, and you have to load a chicken cannon.
Yeah, you just and you've got 1 minute to do it. Go.
Now that is an Olympic event I would watch. Forget the like running and skiing and shooting.
Come on.
Give me load a chicken cannon.
Yep.
Paint a man gold. I'd watch that all day.
Absolutely. That. You want me to finally watch the Olympics? Give me that. Give me that.
Give me that and more metal bands playing on the side of a building, and I am in.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad somebody finally had the courage to say it.
They keep having to go back here and get more and more skunks. They even get, by the end, they get a new skunk guy.
Yeah.
It's like they fire the old
critter
skunk
control.
No critter control. We need somebody who's actually serious about their line of work.
Real.
Get a new skunk guy in. Still really hard to get the skunk to spray. So their solution is, let's just let it loose in the women's bathroom.
In the women's bathroom.
And they make a point of, it's the women's bathroom.
Yes. Yeah.
Unsafe work environment, my guys.
Now, but let's be honest. It does make sense, because would you even be able to tell if it was in the men's bathroom? Like, that's not in order to keep the controls in place on this experiment.
That's probably a fair point. They do eventually get the skunk to spray, chasing it around the room with a broom, which I did actually feel pretty bad for the skunk at that point.
Yeah.
that this was going on. But they get sprayed, kind of. Mm-hmm. And this was the one thing about this myth that they really pivot here because it's so difficult to get sprayed. They test briefly on Adam and Jamie, but they really end up testing the bathroom more than anything else, which I thought wasn't necessarily the spirit of the... How many people have a bathroom that gets skunked? Like, I feel like that is a very that's very specifically an M5 Industries problem, you know?
It is. I also love that the only part of them that the skunk sprays is like the part that wasn't bought specifically for this experiment. It was Adam's shoes.
yeah. Not the creased hillbilly clothes, but Adam's shoes.
No, this is a justice-oriented skunk, I have to say.
That skunk's like, screw you.
She knows.
She knows exactly what the game is.
She knows what's up.
Maybe that's why they use the women's bathroom. They're being respectful to the skunk. She's a girl skunk.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you,
Mythbusters.
Thank you, Mythbusters.
The first thing they test, the only thing they actually test on themselves is tomato juice, which makes them look like accident victims.
Oh, it's fantastic.
But does appear to work to some extent. And this is where we get another person on the crew having a really weird job and a bad day, where Scotty is the official Adam and Jamie smeller. The things that they ask people to do.
Scotty, come in here, please. So we've got a job for you this week. Is it building? It is not. It is not building. We're gonna need you to use that honker, that nose of yours. If you could just take a whiff, why don't you?
What'd you do at work today? Oh, I smelled my bosses.
Huh? Yeah. They asked. You reversed Joe Biden to them? Yes. Yes. I sure did. It's fine. He's not president anymore.
Oh, God. Oh, we'll see if that makes the edit.
Those are my favorite. It's always a surprise for me what makes it in and what doesn't.
It's always a surprise for me for what I forget to edit out.
Yay! That's where I thrive. I thrive in the cut, in the under the radar cut.
The rest of the tests that they do are end up actually on the bathroom itself. They end up having to use synthetic skunk spray in the bathroom because they can't get the skunk to spray again, which they said that on themselves, the problem that they had was that the synthetic stuff went away very quickly.
Yeah.
They don't really address that in the bathroom. So I
noticed that.
It's very murky to me, even though I like this myth. The actual testing kind of gets pretty screwed up. Like there's not really a clear... I mean, I hate to use the term scientific method when you're talking about spraying a bathroom with skunk spray, but you know what I mean? Like there's not like a clear testing process here. So it did feel a little bit strange, but the first thing they try is beer, which just spray beer all over a bathroom. My God, what that must have smelled like.
Been there.
Usually it's already inside me though, before
as
it
I'm
comes out all
spraying
over the
it,
bathroom.
yeah.
Beer doesn't work. They say that it just makes it smell like beer, which duh.
I do love her joke that she's like, well, now it just smells like the men's restroom. It's like,
Got him. Next, they use, as they were tactfully calling it, feminine hygiene product.
Until Adam is just like, douche. Adam.
And also takes a shot of it.
Yep, he sure does.
Because apparently it's just vinegar and water, which I'm a dumb guy. I did not know that that's what it was.
And similarly, I love watching them struggle with it. They're like, I think you do. You tear it right here, presumably. And like they're just.
Yeah.
I would love to see that cut just unedited, like how long they were fiddling with it to try. It's great.
They say that is still pretty skunky, doesn't seem to work very well. Next is a home remedy, which actually works really well. Seems to be the best result out of anything. It's hydrogen peroxide, baking soda, and a little bit of dishwashing liquid. Scrubbed all over the bathroom. Seems to work great. I mean, Scotty responds better to that than she even does the professional skunk remover spray.
Yeah.
Which was kind of cool and good to know. And they did a nice little explainer that the reason that the home remedy seems to work is it actually changes the chemical makeup of the thiols, the things that actually are making the skunk spray smell bad, which they said is the same stuff that's in like decomposing flesh.
Yes.
So that gives you an idea.
And poop.
Thank you for...
I couldn't let you get away with it. Come on now.
But that's what actually makes it smell so bad, and that by you're actually on a chemical level changing it. So it's kind of like an enzymatic cleaner, I guess. Like we've seen that before on the show with the pig episodes. And lastly, use commercial skunk remover, which they say works, but not as well as the home remedy, which is pretty cool. So,
and we don't even get a plausible on the home remedy. We just get a straight up confirmed.
Isn't that wild? We're getting some confirms now for the first time.
Boom.
So the final result on this: beer, feminine hygiene product are busted, but tomato juice, commercial skunk remover, and surprisingly the home remedy are all either plausible or confirmed. So next time you get skunked, now you know.
Now you know.
Never seen anyone so happy to be skunked.
Finally, we smell foul. I totally psyched. Oh, Skunk, get away!
Myth 3. What is bulletproof? This is a fun one about
Super
what
fun.
objects can actually be used to stop a bullet. And my immediate thought was this is exactly what we talked about last week with the car door.
Yes.
They clearly did this at the same time. And it was like they got 2 bites of the apple when they were out there at the gun range. But this is what I wanted to see, actually putting a ballistics gel block behind the object and doing more detailed testing. So I loved this all the way through.
I did too. It was also so the first thing that they test is a book, which ended up being somewhat resistant, certainly more so than I was anticipating. But I wasted a lot of time trying to pause it to tell what book it was because I thought I had a theory based on. Because like where the tape was on the spine, similar to what they do with like cola, another thing to like, so that you can't see what it is.
Greeking it out. Yeah.
It looked like a Bible to me. Because like it had the double columns on the page. The resolution wasn't quite good enough for me to be able to make out like, oh, this is Jeremiah or, whatever. But then Adam just spoils it later.
Yeah.
Like he straight up says like book or Bible. And it's like, I wasted so much time.
Well, that was really interesting though, because the whole time they were doing it, and Bible is what I have heard. People having like a pocket Bible is something they had heard. And my thought was, and I think maybe this is confirmed by the fact that they sneak it in there at the end. I don't know that they could shoot a Bible on television. Like I feel like
interesting.
I feel like the backlash from that. So I wonder if they went into it planning to do that and actually lean into the fact there was a Bible, because that is the story.
Yeah.
And at some point went, maybe not. Maybe we don't show us shooting a Bible on TV.
Well, I can totally see why you wouldn't want to, particularly in the early 2000s. That seems unwise, to say the least.
Yeah.
But at the same time, every time that I have seen this in a movie, there's been some kind of, hint at like, I was protected by a higher power. So it's not, it's not like inherently sacrilegious, I don't think. Like, usually it seems to be the opposite. But again, I could see why they didn't. But it stops the handgun.
It stops the 22.
No, it stops the 22. Yes.
Yeah, it stops the 22, but not the 357, which is not super surprising. What is also, I guess, not surprising is that Jamie is a star marksman. Just sitting there capping everything on the first try. Adam flailing wildly. Jamie just bam, bam, bam. Just John Wicking it all day long.
Yes, just perfectly placed bullets every time.
Crazy. Adam does actually get it with the playing cards, which the bullet goes straight through on the playing cards. That doesn't seem to put up much of a fight. No. The one that I had heard probably the most, because I feel like this is a famous like war story, is the Zippo lighter.
Yeah.
Which seemed like a real possibility to me because, it is metal and you've got stuff inside. You've got multiple different components inside of a lighter.
Sure.
But the bullets just went, even the 22 went all the way through. Pew!
Yeah.
I found that pretty surprising.
It also looked so cool. Like, I loved seeing, because it's not just a hole, like, it pushes it through. So there's like a raised side.
And we haven't seen a lot of gun stuff on Mythbusters to this point. But that is a big thing on the show. We've talked about before the way that Mythbusters handled guns on the show and the pros and cons of that. But we haven't seen a ton of it yet on the show. And it is the visuals that it creates and the opportunities for visuals. We're not at the point where their high-speed cameras can really capture it yet. We will get there eventually in the show, which is kind of a hallmark kind of moment in the show's history. But the visuals of this whole sequence and I'm a boy. Gunplay is fun to watch.
It really is, especially when you've got Jamie over here that could just place it so expertly.
I know. There needs to be like a horror movie where people go into the woods and they're pursued by a Heineman. The ancient Heineman comes out of his slumber and comes after him. It's like
come
Rare
out
Exports.
Of the coffin. Yes.
Oh man,
we tried burying him alive. It didn't work. He's back. Where are you?
We get a great Jamie moment in this myth, and this is one of those another one of those achievement unlocked moments, because I remember this so distinctly from watching the show. Of the moment when they decide to test the bulletproof capabilities of their blast shields. And Adam tells Jamie, well, you said this was bulletproof. And Jamie's like, no, I didn't. And Adam's like, the next cut is going to be you saying it was bulletproof. And they just keep playing over and over again. Jamie saying, it'll stop a bullet.
It'll stop a bullet. It'll stop a bullet.
I remember it's very similar to the I reject your reality and substitute my own. Sort of moment, and I loved seeing that sort of flipped onto Jamie this time.
Well, I also love that Jamie tries to get out of it with like a technicality. He's like, that's not what that means. That's not bulletproof doesn't necessarily mean, which I actually did look into it. He's right. Like there's not, like there are degrees of bulletproof apparently, and like bullet resistance.
Which
I'm not going to grant it to him. Yeah. Yeah, a little bit. I feel like if
It's
I
kind
see
of like
Bulletproof,
the windshield that isn't rated for bird strike. Like,
yeah,
because Jamie
why
said,
not?
Yeah, and Jamie says like bulletproof when used in appropriate thicknesses, and my reaction was, so is everything. Like
Anything can
what's
be
the point?
appropriately thick.
Yeah, what's the point of calling this bullet? You put, I mean, line enough people up, eventually it'll stop. Like what's the? I mean, what is the point of calling it bulletproof then?
We can't test that, but I assume it's
Yeah.
But so I mean, so they set it up with the initial, like the same blast shields that they were using in the last season, and not only does it not stop a bullet, neither side of it stops the bullet. It goes clean through both.
And did you notice that Robert Lee had to come in and be like, well, to be fair, they're not having bullets shot at them normally. It was kind of this moment of like, but there was kind of this moment of them being like, hey, we're trying to be safe, I promise.
Yes, yeah, that was great. And then they get like the stuff that I guess it's like the stuff that's on the Pope mobile, you know?
Yes, yes. Yeah, they get the Pope armor.
Yeah.
And even this stuff, this really, really thick stuff that is supposed to actually be bulletproof, they say it's only labeled as bullet resistant.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of something saying it's water resistant.
Yep.
No,
No.
I want bulletproof.
Yes, that would be great for me and my peace of mind.
I don't want technicalities when it comes to bullets flying through something. Please and thank you.
Yeah, I know. I don't need legalese when it comes to if a bullet will reach me. I don't need it to be foolproof.
I don't need terms and conditions for my bulletproof glass. I just need this to work first time. That is all I care about. And to the credit of this, it does.
Yeah.
I mean, none of the handguns will actually penetrate this stuff or even seems to. I think Adam even says it doesn't jump. Like it is just absorbing the impact like crazy, which was pretty amazing to see.
And makes it look super cool. Like the ripples on the actual glass look awesome.
Yeah, it's really crazy. They finally get something to go through it by bringing out an old Springfield rifle, an old 30-06, like World War II looking kind of thing, and that punches all the way through it. So don't go back in time and get in a gunfight,
no,
or else you're going to be in trouble. But but in general,
short of that,
you're going to be pretty safe with that stuff. So the verdict on this one was books, playing cards, Zippo, and their regular blast chamber were all busted, or, as Adam would say,
Wrong, wrongity, wrong.
Rollity wrong?
Wrongity, wrong.
You said rollity wrong.
I did not.
I did not. That was such a like little brother moment. I did not.
Stop it. I did not say rollity. Even though, interestingly, when because I of course took it back to see if he did say rollity, I thought he did when I could see it. Now that I'm listening back, it does sound like he said wrongity.
Wouldn't it be great if they dubbed it just to create that moment with Jamie?
I feel like you would be able to hear it. Like wrong, rollity, wrong.
So they dub it in Jamie's voice into Adam. I'm down with that. I like this. Yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this episode. We got, like I said, a little bit of everything from that we enjoy from Mythbusters. And man, this new season's off to a great start. We're really it's hitting its stride. Last week we had a few little weirdnesses, but man, we're kind of rocking now.
Yeah, this one was super playful, super. You know, they were favoring what was going to give them the best shots and the best general storytelling. So, top marks from me.
Next week, we have a myth that you have actually brought up in the past. And I said, just wait, it's coming up on this show. We're going to be talking about the elevator of death.
Oh.
The idea of jumping in an elevator while it's falling. And will that actually save you?
This one terrifies me.
It's a very scary, very practical kind of story, and from my memory, a great episode. So I'm looking forward to watching it.
It's a good thing I don't have recurring nightmares about this as is. You know, like, this will help. For sure.
We're going to play this just a double feature, this and Buried Alive, just nice kind of chill.
All my least favorite things.
Well, we hope you guys will watch that episode and then come back and listen to us break it down. But for now, thanks for listening.
Bye-bye, bubbies.
Try This at Home is produced by Slugline Media. The show was written, hosted, edited, and shot onto the internet by Cliff Bumgardner and Harrison Stewart. Our music is by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. You can follow the show on Instagram @TryThisPod or email us trythisathomepod@gmail.com.